Hello, guys. My name is Teddy. Welcome back to Reviewverse. I have a very special guest with me today. It's Ryan. Yay!
Howdy.
Okay. Before I get into what we're doing today, I'd like a word from our sponsorship. Do you think? Do you think you found an account that is L for H once again? Well, I have the solution just for you. Hosie's the latest Alpha H and Heteros. That is the detective agency between my friends and I, where we look into an account and see if it is ran by a legacy for Hope. Because she makes many accounts. For whatever reason. I don't know. I couldn't tell you even if I asked. Because I'm not going to ask her because that's giving her okay, never mind. Anyway, you can DM us on Twitter at Hosie's Deletus. No, at Hosie Deletus. Not Hosie's Deletus. Hosie Deletus. And we will look into it and we will let you guys know if um if it's L for H or not. And now Ryan would like to say something.
As per usual, I need to spread the homosexual for Arya agenda, so I need to let this out once and for all. He stopped being Shakespeare once Teddy started posting a lot of Shakespeare tweets on their account, but the man is still a legend. The man is still the most artistic person I have ever met in my entire life, the most handsome man I have ever met in my entire life since Fred Gutierrez. What? Please, please, I just need to let it go. The man is just beautiful, okay? And I'm just so gay for him, and that's it. That's all I have to say. That's all I have.
Thank you for those words of wisdom, Ryan.
If you're
Okay.
gay just like me, I think you should have the right to speak your mind on Aria, everybody.
Okay. Now on to what we're doing today. So Ryan and I decided to read two fan fiction, a Hosie one and a Hizzie one, and we're gonna just talk about it. That's basically it, right? We're just gonna talk
Pretty
about
much.
we're just gonna talk about our thoughts and what we think, and yeah. So Ryan, you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. So the first one that I had picked out was Reese's fic. Our good dear friend Reese, who is on AO3 over at Undead Asleep, they wrote this fic called Bloodlust and the Consequences of It. It's a very interesting fic because within it, like Hope is part of Triad. She's this agent of Triad, and nobody likes her at Triad because she's pretty much the one thing that like they hate, the supernatural being who is a tribrid. She's finally the full tribrid. She's activated all of her powers. And her mission is to basically try to get close to Lizzie because Lizzie's like, I guess, like the key to rising Malivore or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Teddy.
I think so. I think that's it.
Yeah. And so the first chapter is basically she arrives at the Salvatore boarding school. She meets Penelope. She also meets Lizzie. She finds out that she's rooming with Lizzie and everything, which I think goes pretty well with her plan since she is trying to get close to her after all. And then in the second chapter, we see that, like they start baking. There's this one part of it where within it, Lizzie was like, well, you never baked with your mom and stuff like that. And so it kind of reminded me of this parallel that's in the first Descendants movie, where the core four, they're like baking inside the cafeteria. And so Lonnie comes in, the daughter of Mulan, and she's like talking about like baking with her mom and whatever. And things get really tense and awkward because she starts asking them about their parents. very much the same reaction. Like they're kind of silent about it because they've never had this experience with their parents. It's pretty much the same thing. So she starts having these baking experiences with Lizzie, which was really cute. But then here's the part that literally just absolutely just threw me into ballistics because she has this conversation with Clark, who is like her boss, her ex-boyfriend. There's a lot going on here with Clark. And so she calls him, and one of the things that he tells her is, um, remember, you're a marshal. Michelsons are hated there. And she just loses it. Like she throws the phone and everything. I think it's a very important part of the story because you get to feel that tension that Hope has from being told that, which I think made me kind of sad. I'm not gonna lie. I literally felt sad. I literally felt her pain. Um, and then the most interesting part, I think we can both agree, Teddy, that this was the most interesting part of the fic so far. The fact that she has a dream with her dad.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, um, within the dream, he tells her that he has his own suspicions and theories as to why the effects of Malivore don't work on him. He's the only one that can have the memory of her. Like, he's the only one that has, like, all these thoughts, all these feelings, all these memories with Hope, and he tries to communicate them with the rest of the family, and it just doesn't work. And I have a theory about that I coincidentally spoke about it with Reese, but because I can't remember the conversation that I had with him, it's like it just never happened. Okay, so my theory is that it wasn't just Hope who went into Malivore, but it was also Klaus, and like Klaus went into Malivore prior to Hope going into Malivore, and because he had already gone into Malivore, the effects of Malivore just don't work on him anymore. So he was already part of it. He already had the experience in Malivore. He already had the experience of like bringing his own memories back into everybody's minds and all that stuff. So I feel that the effects of Malivore just don't work on him, and that's why he can remember Hope. And I don't think that it was a dream per se. I really believe that it was like, I don't know how to call it. I don't want to say it's astral projection, but I want to say astral projection for lack of a better word inside of her mind. It was like a head dive kind of thing. I feel like that's what it was, even though he wasn't there, because Landon later wakes her up and she just throws him across the room, which I think is like the best part of it. It's like one of the best. He just literally flies and he just lands on her paint. But I will say one thing, even though this isn't particularly like a Hizzie thing or anything like that, I thought the Jandon moment was okay. It was pretty cute. I'm not gonna lie. Reese knew how to write the Jandon. I
Hmm.
appreciate them for it. And like, I just think that this fic is one of the most complex Hizzie fics I have read in a very long time because you could tell that the fic itself, it's not just centered around this Hizzie romance. It's part of the story and it's an important part of the story, but it's not all that's important about the story. Is what I love about this fic.
Yeah, the romance is not like the core, like it's not the center. So that's what I like. Yeah, definitely. All right. Uh,
What are your thoughts on the fic?
I think it was really well written. Like it covers that part of her doesn't part of her wants to express her Michelson side, but she can't because the school hates them. So basically, So it makes sense to have that in the plot line because that is kind of, well, what's the word? That's kind of like alluded in like the show itself in canon. So it makes sense. Okay.
Agreed.
All right. Anything else or do you want to Any last
I
thoughts?
think I think we can move on to the other one. I don't think I have any extra thoughts unless you want to mention something else.
No, I think we're good.
Okay, we can move on then.
All right. The next fic we read was whipped cream and a sprinkle of cocoa, right?
Yep,
Okay.
by Always and Forever 14 on AO3.
Okay. So chapter one. Chapter one. So the how do I explain this? So a quick summary of this story is Hope and Lizzie are best friends, which that dynamic is come very common in the legacies fandom already. That uh, that trope, I guess what you could call it. And in this fic, they don't have powers, so it's not canon. They Lizzie talks Hope into opening up a coffee shop, right? That was a coffee shop.
Hmm.
Okay. She convinced Hope into opening a coffee shop. So they open up the coffee shop. It really covers their dynamic and I love it because the two of them have a very interesting bond. Like I don't know how to explain it, but the two of them just work well together. Okay.
They really do.
Anything you wanna say? Oh wait.
Sorry about that. We'll get to that.
Okay.
Um,
Go on.
I will definitely say that um, overall sentiments about the fic that I have, the dynamics in the fic are just really well done. Like I think we can both agree the dynamics are really well done.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
the Hizzie dynamic, but the Raphael dynamic, out of this world. I think it's like one of the best like friendships inside the fic, besides the one that Hope and Lizzie have, which is like also very I want to say intimate, but I don't want to mean it in like a romantic sense or anything like that. But they are like intimate. Like Lizzie knows everything about her family. Lizzie's pretty close with her family. She even thinks of her like as like the sister, you know, that she couldn't have while Josie was gone. Um, there's a lot going on there. So, yeehaw me, mom.
Okay. Um let's see what else.
We should definitely like discuss like the other chapters for sure. Chapter two.
Isn't
Um,
that the third chapter is when Josie like makes her appearance, right?
Basically, yeah.
Okay. So in chapter three, um Josie makes her appearance and the two of them, Hope and Josie, they don't quite make the greatest first impression on each other.
Wait, sorry. The was it? No, wait. It is in chapter three. You're right. You're right. My bad. I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Teddy.
Okay. What was I saying? Okay. The dynamic between Hope and Josie is interesting because they don't start out very well. They actually kind of hate each other at the start because Hope says that she owns the cafe. And then Josie says, "No, my sister owns the cafe. You shouldn't lie." And then Hope says, "The only liar is your sister." And then all that stuff, they kind of just they didn't connect, like they didn't make the best first impression on each other. And then Lizzie comes out and apparently Hope never knew that Lizzie had a sister, let alone that Lizzie had a twin sister. So that was an interesting turn of events.
I think that that part in the chapter covered for perfect angst. I thought it was great. As an angst lover, I am a lover of angst. I can completely say I think that really pretty much covered the only angst that's in the chapters. Um, because this is a very like wholesome fic. I will have to say that. So there's not a lot of angst. So if you're not if you're somebody who likes angst, this is not the fic for you. But it
If
is
you wa-
still
if
a
you
great.
sorry, go on.
No, I was just saying it's still a great fic, regardless,
It's a
because
great fic.
it fits a lot of different tropes, right? You have this coffee shop part, and then we have some other ones that we're gonna delve into.
And the
Um,
tags are funny as hell.
tags are.
Plex scares me.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so funny. There's one about Alaric, and it's like trigger warning Alaric assaults.
No, it's trigger warning. Matthew Davis gets his own trigger warning. Okay, just one thing before we continue this. If you do want angst, you can follow this great writer. Their AO3 username is ABC Supercorp. They write a lot of fics, and don't worry, they definitely do not kill Josie.
No, not at all.
Okay, I'm just kidding. It's me. I wrote the account. I own the account, and yes, I do kill Josie. Anyways,
In that self promo.
do you want a self promo?
I don't have anything to self promo.
Oh, you're right.
I really don't have anything. I wish I did though. But I do know this great writer. I know a couple of great writers in this fandom. The Prodigal Son AU, I think, is the most fantastic AU that I have read after this one. It's a great comfort fic of mine. I tend to reread it when I like have nothing else to do and I miss Prodigal Son like hell. I go and I think of Hosie as bright, and I just start crying.
Okay.
Moving on to chapter 4.
Okay, chapter 4. The banter between Caleb, Raphael, and Hope. Anything you want to say?
Definitely, I thought it was very nice because it's just really funny because like Caleb and Raphael were just like coming at her and they were just like, you just have really bad social skills, girl. Just admit it already. Like it was just like taking like little jabs here and there. I hope, and she's like, hello, I'm like right here. Like stop talking about me like that. It was hilarious.
Okay, let's see. There's a Lord of the Rings mention.
Oh yes, I noticed that in the conversation that Hope and Lizzie were having. I think it was like a past conversation because it was in italics, and Lizzie has like this little mention of like Lord of the Rings. You know, like how she does in canon. She mentions like little Lord of the Rings, Star Wars here and there. It was very similar to that. I really appreciate how this author takes like canon and incorporates it into the fic as well. Even though like obviously this isn't AU, you don't really need to stick to canon if you don't want to. But I really appreciated that. I thought it was really nice to read the Lord of the Rings reference because I actually laughed about it.
All right. Okay, so in this chapter, there's also, excuse me, there's also, well, Hope's aunt, right, is having a wedding.
Aunt Rebecca is getting married to Matt, and everybody hates Matt. But I don't know if everybody hates Matt because he's boring as fuck or because he's a cop. You know, like nobody really knows right now.
Okay, so Hope has to go to her aunt's wedding, but there was a change of plans, and now she has to bring a +1. Lizzie already has a +1, and that's MG.
Mm-hmm.
So Hope has to find a +1, and Lizzie manages to somehow convince Hope to bring Josie as her +1.
Right.
So
And the
Liz,
whole group was coming for her too. They were just like, nope, you're the only chance you have here is just to ask Josie. And she was like, well, fuck. Now I have to ask.
okay, so yes, so Hope ends up talking to Josie, and Josie is actually the first one to say something. She's like, "I'm sorry, I was so rude. Um, I was just trying to defend my sister, something like that, right? Trying to, like, because
Yeah. It was more like my sister, like, never really explained to me how you were the other owner, and it was really rude of me and selfish of me to call you names and just disrespect you in your own like cafe. And like Hope accepts the apology, and then um the conversation shifts to Hope's question. And Josie's like, well, it's the least that I can do after what I did. And so it was a very awkward conversation. You could tell that Hope obviously was not expecting the apology. But Josie was very quick to accept the wedding invitation because of the fact that like she felt really bad about dissing her in her own cafe and just being like, no, this restaurant isn't yours, it's my sister's kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um, so I thought that was really like on point with Josie because Josie tends to be that person that overly apologizes in her own apologies. Not that that's a bad thing, but you could tell that like there's just a lot of good intentions there,
yeah. Okay. So that basically covers chapter 4.
pretty much. But there was a definite like important thing that I noticed that was in chapter 4 because there was like further mention of the Salton family, which is something that is a very sensitive topic for Lizzie. In the previous chapters, we could definitely see that Lizzie just does not want to talk about her family. The only thing that she mentions, because the group, you know, is interested to know more about her family or whatever, was that her dad was like an absentee father, like he was just never there, he was not a good person, he's not a good dad kind of thing. You can tell that like there's still something there. Like you can tell there's like a little bit of resentment still going on. So yeah, for sure. Mhm. Now move on to chapter, which is very
Your notes. Okay, you can start us off.
okay. So the funny part about this whole thing is that chapter 5 is like the whole wedding. The wedding spans off into various chapters, which I thought was really like cool that the author did that, separate into different chapters like the entire wedding because if not the chapters would be like ridiculously long. But um I found it very interesting that we started with the wedding and I knew this chapter right off the bat was just gonna be super funny because um Hope and Josie, while they were having their conversation, Hope was like, well, it's a Michelson wedding. Somebody ends up always going into the ER when we're all together. And I was expecting somebody to go to the ER at some point. I was just like, yeah, ER. But the chapter I know starts off with Haley and Hope. They're talking about like her relationship with Brandon, which literally sucks because her relationship with Landon was all like rainbows and unicorns until she finds out that
It was.
cheats on her. So, can we talk
I.
about that for a minute? Because that was wild.
Okay, go ahead.
Can we literally talk about that? Like, it's Alyssa, her best friend in college? Like,
Yeah. It,
that was mind blowing. I was not expecting Alyssa, but I was expecting, I don't know, like anybody else really, not Alyssa.
the thing that I found interesting is that the tags were Landon bashing, so I knew, oh, right away, oh, he did something bad. He did something. But then I was like, oh, he fucked her best friend.
Yeah,
That's basically it. That's what happened.
it's so weird. Oh god, that was such a weird moment. How like she just walks in on them, and like Hope was going out to go see her brother, who literally cancels on her. he's like, well, okay, back to my apartment. Here we go. And he just like, she just sees like this chicken, having like a moment with Alyssa. We don't even know what's going on. So offer dinner right. God. If not, he's gonna be Jesus, I swear.
Oh, just to clarify, this podcast is not safe for hand-ins, and I know you're gonna try and listen to this. So if you're listening to this, L4H, go the fuck away. Anyway,
Yes, please. We don't want transphobes in here. And homophobes.
so I do think that that's interesting because in canon, Alyssa and Lizzie are not. I mean, Alyssa and Hope are not best friends at all.
At all. Like, they actually don't like each other. They're very confrontational with each other.
They hate each other.
Hmm. But I mean, like, there's a very limited window when it comes to hope and friendships. So, like, I bet the author was kind of conflicted into what character they were going to use. Am I going to use Alyssa? Am I going to use Penelope? Like, there's a very limited window outside of the twins. Um, so I can imagine it was very difficult for her. I mean, for them. Sorry. So back to the Hope and Haley conversation. I thought that it was very wholesome because, like, you could tell that, like, everybody in the family really cared about Landon. Everybody cared about Landon and the family. Haley was somebody who, like, realized that Hope really cared about Landon and, what's it called? Um, just had like really strong feelings and knew that like she wanted to marry him one day, which understood if they were together for like a while, right? But then everything with Alyssa happens, the family finds out, and of course Haley unleashes her inner Marshall, and she's like, "I wish I could kill that guy because he hurt my baby." And Hope is just like, "Mom, tone it down, Lil." um, But then they talk about going to the wedding, and somebody, I forgot who, but somebody mentions like a karaoke fest that happens in the car, always with Klaus and Marcel. And and Haley was like, if they just do karaoke again, I'm going to commit a war crime. And that comment, I don't know why, but that comment, when I first read it, it just sent me. It just really made me laugh so hard. Thank you. And then the car ride to the church. That was so wholesome. It was a very small part, but it was so wholesome because like everybody was singing along to Queen. And I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Queen, but like I can appreciate that Queen has some rad songs. So, it was really wholesome. Do we want to talk about the it's the fucking bird. Is that Finch? You're muted.
It kind of looks like a finch.
Right, yeah, so that's why I was like, oh, it's Finch. Everybody, welcome Finch to the podcast. But let's talk about how Hope definitely checked up Josie when they got to the wedding. Teddy squared.
1 second. Okay. Anyways, so the wedding, we were talking about that. It's very interesting because you can tell that there are people in the family that are distant for a reason.
Yep, yeah.
And one of the funniest parts is when Caleb was like talking to Matt, and he under his breath he was like, "A cab," So I'm pretty sure that's why they hate him.
And then you see like Marcel and Hope doing the finger guns at him, and Elijah's just like, "What did he say?" Like, Elijah is this because I mean, what I love about the fact about Elijah in this fic is that he's just as stuck up as he is in the original. Goodness gracious, I could go on forever and ever about how I hate his characterization in the originals, but I believe that in the ends, for between Emma and I, because Emma and I, we just always talk about like how much we hate. Um, Shout out to Clearly X Hizzie for being my bestie about that. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay. What was I gonna say?
the Lion King reference. Did you catch it?
Go ahead, say it again.
The Lion King reference. Did you catch that?
No, I don't remember it. What was it?
So Hope goes on to congratulate Rebecca, and she's like, "Congrats, Aunt Rebecca! I'm so glad. I'm so happy that you're married." Blah blah blah. So then Rebecca's like, "Hope, my favorite niece," and then Hope is like, "I'm your only niece," which just reminded me of the Lion King when Scar was like saying that Simba was his favorite nephew, and Simba's like, "But I'm your only nephew."
Oh, okay,
And
yeah. I saw that. I read that part, but I didn't think of it as Lion King reference. But now that you put it into perspective, I can see that.
it's funny because I mentioned it to the author, and the author was like, "Oh yeah, it is a Lion King reference because I love the Lion King." And I was like, so good at this Disney shit.
Okay.
Moving on. Oh, the car conversation, the one that happened with Josie in the car. That was
Can you say that again? The call is cutting out.
oh the conversation in the car with Josie when she was inside it.
Oh yeah, I think I'm spacing out. I can't remember. Can you recap? I'm spacing out again.
For sure. Um, Basically, what I remember is that Josie goes into the car with Hope, and and in the car it's Josie, Hope, and Marcel in the back seat, and then Klaus and Haley in the front seat. They're all driving to the reception, and they mention things about the family, and specifically about like Aunt Rebecca marrying Matt, and how like that marriage is like what the fuck, like nobody expected it, and nobody thought that she's gonna get married to this loser, literally, and like um they're all making comments about that, but then they're all like, well, if Rebecca, loves him, then, we can just roll with it, right? Um, and then Klaus takes his own little jabs at Josie, and he's like, well, yeah, I mean, I have to jab at my daughter's girlfriend. And, I'm just like, deceased, Hosie crumbs. But everybody's like, no, no, like, Hope is like, no, 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 we're not girlfriends. And then
Yeah.
Klaus is like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. I'll believe that. But that car conversation was just really interesting. It was very hilarious, and you can actually feel like the tension at some points within the conversation. I thought it was perfect. I just like took that in, and I was like, the Hosie soul will be with you.
Okay, now the reception party. Oh, to mention, Lizzie never met Klaus.
Yes, Lizzie had never met Klaus, and he
So
would because she already met Haley and everybody else, right?
yeah, so the thing is that based on what Klaus was being told, he not doesn't necessarily like Lizzie, but Haley reminds him to not judge a person without meeting them.
Mhm.
Okay, you want to cover something?
Um, I thought the banter between Lizzie and Klaus was excellent. It was perfect. And he was just like, I like this one already. I love this one. He was just like enjoying and relishing in that whole moment. And I think that we can cover simultaneously, like, the fact that this was going on while, like, I think it was happening simultaneously with the Raphael conversation that was happening where he, like, literally comes out to Hope, which is so funny because he's like, I think I'm bi. And then Hope is like, yeah, bitch, me too.
Oh, before we continue this, I do want to do it. I do want you guys to listen to Kindred Spirits by Sarah. How do you say her last name?
Barrios.
Yeah, say it.
Sarah Barrios.
Yeah, by Sarah. Yeah. You can find it on YouTube and on Spotify. It's a very good Hosie song. And if you're listening to this, you're likely a Hosie shipper, unless you are.
Reese, who's watching this podcast because I told them about it.
Okay, yeah.
I told
Anyways,
them,
I was gonna take another jab at that person. I was gonna take another jab at L4H.
yeah, do it.
Um, I'm not gonna go into that though. So listen to the song. I tweeted out her lyrics. Um,
And
in
Shakespeare.
Shakespeare. I tweeted out her lyrics in Shakespeare, and she liked it, and she quote retweeted it.
Lipstick in my Valentine's bag.
Here, I'll show you.
Yes, screenshot. And then obviously retweet it. So, Sarah, I don't know if you're gonna listen to this. Probably not, and that's okay. But please, I adore that song. I literally listen to it every single night on repeat. I just sit in my bed and comfy, and it's just wonderful. Okay, I just love that song so much. Can you do a whole perspective
Oh my
of
god, I was about to say that.
brain cell?
Our brain cell is literally more active over video chat.
Really?
Okay, we need to do this again, but we need more people.
Of course, it would be more funnier and it'll last longer too.
We need more people. I'll probably post about it, or I'll ask the 18 plus group chat if anybody wants to do it next time.
Sick.
Oh, that would be the most chaotic podcast ever, and I'd love it. Okay, so what if instead of just you and me doing the Why Hosey Should Happen podcast, we
We should
ask,
invite them.
stop reading my mind.
We're best friends. I can't. I literally can't.
Zephyr, are you alive? Okay, he's alive. He's good. He's alive. This is getting chaotic fast. Anyways, the reception party. Klaus likes Lizzie already. Okay.
Okay, so basically, I think the reception's in chapter six. I think the best part about chapter six is the fact that it's a very Josie centered like chapter, but you can also tell that it's Lizzie centered as
So it's
well.
Saltman, the twin centric, basically.
But it leans more towards Josie, which kind of makes sense because it's a Hosey thing. And so, yeah. But because of the Lizzie dynamic, with Hope and whatever, I think that's why the author also included little portions here and there with Lizzie.
Hmm.
But there was this one specific line that I read it and I was like, I see what you're doing here. And so I'm gonna read it off verbatim. I literally have it right here. He he literally was thinking, Josie was literally thinking about how like Lizzie um was with the friend group with Caleb and Julie, Raphael, and Hope. I don't think I'm missing anybody else.
No, you didn't. It's all of them.
Right. Okay. So she's thinking about how like this is like her family now. Like she is blending in with these people. She's happier than she's ever been. And the author literally wrote this in. They literally wrote in, Josie knew that Lizzie needed people like that in her life. She needed to be surrounded by people who loved her and looked out for her. It was what she deserved after everything that Josie had put her through. What the fuck did Josie do?
That's what I'm wondering. That like,
Hey,
that was
that's
like,
my question.
hmm.
I literally asked the author, like, I'm concerned about this sign. They literally replied back, and they were just like, I have plans with that. And I was, the pain seed is gonna be humongous, massive. It's gonna leave a hole in the side of my body. Just like in that 911 episode where the comet fell through the roof and literally made a hole inside a person.
This is getting off topic fast, but it's fine. This is supposed to be fun, anyways. It's not like it's not like we're professionals.
Well, even if it was professional, I think every once in a while you should still do, like, little things here and there.
Okay. Um. So you want to move on to chapter 7, or you want to still cover? Oh, wait, hold on. Before we go to chapter 7, I completely forgot about this part. Um. So they have the dance, the just dance.
The Just Dance routine thing.
Yeah. And that was fun because everyone kind of pressured Hope into doing it. Like all of them did, and that was funny. Because Hope was like, I can't dance. And everyone's like, you have to dance.
The Just Dance one. You're the best one at Just Dance.
She's like, no, I'm not.
Oh, but wait. The fact that Lizzie revealed that like they have to share a room together because they went to the wedding together, and the author added in the share a bed trope.
Oh my god, I love that part.
All over this. I can't. It was just, I literally read it and I entered it into a state of paralysis. I literally fell backwards and passed out. I was just like, I, but that conversation was really interesting because Hope um told Josie, if you don't want me decapitated by tomorrow, you better sleep in the same bed with me.
That was funny. She was like, do you want me beheaded?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Then
Go on.
I was gonna say how like she wakes up, Josie wakes up, and they're like literally all cuddling, they're, like cuddling together. That was so cute because like she literally has like a sexual panic and she runs to the back. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
It's
That
cute.
that part was funny and really cute. Um
It's, and I think
so is that it? Did we cover basically that? Chapter 6?
we pretty much covered all of chapter 6. There was just a lot that happened there.
Alright, chapter 7 is the last chapter as of right now.
Mm-hmm.
And this one doesn't have Josie in it. It's more Hope centric, and it's very Hope centric actually. And it kind of covers her relationship that she had with Landon before she figured out that he was fucking Alyssa. Um, so it kind of covers that. Like, they used to share the apartment. He used to bring her takeout. You know, they were a very. I'm not gonna say they were. They were a very typical relationship. You know,
I agree.
until he hurt her. You know. Um, okay, you want to add to anything because this chapter gets really interesting fast.
Yeah, I think that the author was low key foreshadowing the whole conversation about like Landon that happened because they bring in, everything that you just mentioned, the reminiscing of their relationship, and then she realizes that like she's run out of time. She runs into the coffee shop. They're all talking, and then Jed comes in, and he's like, "I got some bad news." And it's more towards like Raphael and Hope. And it makes sense, right? Because they were the people that were most affected by Landon, you know.
Mhm.
And so the conversation that was quite interesting because Jed had gone to Chicago. He bumps into Landon and Alyssa. Hey, tell us what Jed said that Landon and Alyssa were gonna do.
Yeah, they're engaged. I was like, what the hell?
And I was thinking, what the fuck? Everybody?
And then Lizzie's like, it hasn't even been a year since you guys broke up. So I was like, oh God. So that makes you question how long were they together behind Hope's back?
Maybe the entire time.
That's exactly it. They were together for what, 5 years? Hope and Landon?
Mm-hmm.
So if they were together from the beginning, then it makes sense why they would get engaged. Hope and Melissa. It doesn't make sense. It makes sense if he wasn't with Hope.
Mm-hmm.
5 years is a long time.
I agree.
But he was with Hope, so it doesn't make sense. I'm not trying to. Never mind. You guys know what I mean. Anyways. Okay.
And think about it, like, okay, so Hope starts her freshman year of college. I think she meets Alyssa first, if I remember correctly. She meets Alyssa first, and then her sophomore year, she meets Lizzie. Then a few months after she meets Lizzie, um, she meets Landon. They start dating, and they, stay dating until right before the fic starts, which is I'm already broken up. And at this point in the conversation in chapter 7, they were broken up already for 9 months.
that's a whole
9 months.
that's a whole pregnancy. That's not even much.
Exactly. The whole time. You're right. The pregnancy mention.
I, it's the truth. Um,
Can we talk about how, like, you can also tell that there's like some foreshadowing of some tension between Hope and her own family, because Davina put like that Death Note plagiarism on the family wall, and there's nothing about Hope on the family wall.
mhm.
I think the author's gonna do something. Mark my word. I see it. I know it.
Mm. Um. Oh. Oh. Did you catch that the author is probably going down the Caleb and Jed route?
Fire behind me. I just want to reminisce on the Elmo meme. See it right now. Thank you for the genuine content.
Um.
Caleb Endgame.
Caleb and Hosie Endgame 2021.
So true.
Okay. Um.
I mean, like, I think that's pretty much like it. Like, I think we've covered like all of it, honestly. Like, um, we've talked about the dynamics, how the dynamics are like really important. There's a lot of like found family there. There's a lot of like also blood family, the mention of like always and forever. Properly well done because unlike in legacies, um, like the fact that like I took the chance on this coffee shop review without even actually liking coffee shop reviews. I don't like them. But I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna read this one because it has like friendship dynamic that I don't really read often. And I'm so glad I took a chance at this fic because it is definitely a fic that isn't just a coffee shop for you. There's a lot of different like
It's
friends incorporated in
it's
it,
not just a coffee shop AU in general. It's very diverse.
Exactly. I really like that.
And honestly, I started reading this fan fiction because of the tags.
The tags are hilarious. Oh, oh yes. I'm so like laughing at the fact that like when the fic first came out, we went into like I can't remember which chat it was, but we sent like the screenshot and we were like tag yourselves as one of these, and we were all like having a blast with the tags and like giggling.
The tags were the best part. Like I know that you said to yourself that you don't like coffee shop fics in the text messages when I sent you it first. But then you saw the tags and you're like, I think I'm gonna give this a chance because it says Julie Pleck, she creeps me out. Okay, I think that's all right.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, thank you for doing this.
No problem. I had a great time honestly, and it was a pleasure to be here. So
All
I
right.
had all I had all the fun in the world here.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna do this again, and hopefully we can have more people because I can definitely see like two more people and it just being completely chaotic, but in the best way possible.
Just like this one.
Definitely this one. Okay, so anything you want to add? You want to
I
self?
think the last thing I should definitely add, well, one of the last things, is that if anybody wants to recommend any Hosey fix or
Or
really
Hizzie
anything,
fix?
I think you should definitely, drop them to our social medias. My is Justin Michelson on Twitter. Drop me a fic, literally at me, drop the AO3 link, you know, I will read it and we will talk about it here.
It doesn't even
And
have to be AO3. If you find something that's on Wattpad, go
the
ahead.
what is a little bit cursed, but I'll still take it.
Wattpad
Because
has some good Wattpad has some good original stories that we could definitely talk about.
yeah, that's true.
Oh, I just gave me an idea. Okay, thank you guys for listening, and we'll be back next time, hopefully, with more people, and it'll probably be 20 times more chaotic than this one. But that's all the fun in the world. So thank you guys for listening. You want to say anything else?
Thanks for having me here, Teddy. Really, it's been a great time, and I'm really glad that like I was able to do this with you.
Me too. All right. And